Good. How's things looking injury-wise? Everyone okay?
Yeah, we're still kind of debating the idea of Charlie Taylor. He's back on the grass. He's making progress, but obviously we've got to consider sort of a minor re-injury. Luckily, it looks like it is minor, so we'll still be looking at that. Barnsley's very similar. Barnsley's got something that's not major at the moment. We're having to make big calls on these players because of what's happened, over the last few months. So we're having to be sort of overcautious with these players. So them two are still touch and go, but other than that, everyone's come through the last couple of games well.
Josh Brownhill's fine then, yeah, with the ankle.
Sorry. Josh is another one. Actually, you're right. He'll be touch and go. He's only got a knock. It's not we've had it checked out. It's nothing more serious, but it is a sore one on his foot. So sorry, that was the other one I missed out. Yeah, we'll make a decision on him. But yeah, again, we are going to have to, consider being cautious with these players because we've had so many injuries over the last sort of 8 or 9 months.
Like you say, so many, but it's nice to only have the 3 now, I guess, isn't it? And you always said that you were confident that the side would be able to pull out top results if you had just about everybody fit. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know about top results, although we have pulled out a couple lately, but generally just the fact that we could be more competitive, more effective in games, and slowly but surely we've been getting back towards that. Obviously that's been kind of probably overemphasised slightly with the win at Liverpool for the right reasons, obviously, and a turnaround against a very good side in Aston Villa. I thought they were excellent in the first half and we had to hang in there, and then we played better in the second half and took the game on a bit more and come out with a marginal win, but an important one. And sandwiched in between that was a really good cup performance. So I think that's more of a show of what I was talking about, is when everyone's fully fit and we're not quite there, but we're getting there, then that competitive instinct to this team, it grows within the camp, and then you hope that knocks onto, obviously, when you're competitive against the opposition. And so far that's worked. So we've got to make sure we keep working hard to keep that competitive edge in our performances, because as you've seen, it's turned around good results for us.
And is it breeding confidence in the side as well, or more confidence? Because obviously those 3 results will have done everybody a great deal of help and given everybody a bit of a spring in their step, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny thing, confidence, because I always say it has to start somewhere. And when you go away for, well, not this pre-season because of COVID, but generally, if you go away for 7 weeks or whatever in the summer and then come back, well, where does confidence start? So, I think you take care of that. You have to start that as a group. And I think, we've shown that we can do that down the years and stick to what we believe is correct for the players. They stick to delivering. And over time, that's paid us back. We've taken a few knocks, a few bumps in the road, that's for sure. But we find our way through it. So does it enhance confidence? Yes, it definitely does. Good performances, getting points, getting wins, of course it does. And particularly when you play against the real top end of the market. But I'd like to think there's a good confidence level and a good belief level in these players, generally speaking, before the ball's kicked. And I think that's an important factor. Certainly on the psychology side, I think it's been a very important marker for us when we have taken a few knocks along the way.
Where does that come from? I mean, when you can go to Liverpool and get a result like that, and when you can come from behind against Aston Villa and get a result like that, you talked about resilience and you talked about character. How do you actually go about building that into a side, or how much of it actually comes from the players themselves?
Well, it's slightly different here because I've been here long enough to have my say on things and how we should go about our business, and the staff, of course, and the many groups that I've worked with here, the many changing faces that have been here, and they take it on, and that's the important factor, the ownership of the players. When, I've always said my belief is you can only guide them to what you think is right, and if they take ownership of it and run with it, then it's a more powerful thing, and I think they do that well here, and I think they have over time. We've got some kind of a leadership idea within everyone. Everyone leads in different ways, but I think we've got a good mentality towards that. So it's not it's an undefinable thing, but all you can do is put in the things that you think will build that connection. And a lot of it here, I've said many times, starts with the basic principles of life, not just football. That idea of a bit of respect, honesty, a work ethic, a strong bond, a pride in what you do, all them things, they're certainly the things that I think about first before I think whether it's 4-3-3, 4-4-1, 1-4-4-2 historically for us. But, they're things that I believe in, they're things that we've instilled over time. But the key thing to it is you can talk about it and lay it down. It's when the players grip it. When they grip it and take ownership of it and it becomes part of them, then that's the most powerful thing. And over time here, I think, the resilience, as mentioned, the work ethic, the demand from themselves on each other has grown, more or less every season. And the people that we've brought in, the ones that have bought into that, which is most, to be fair, have done very well for us. So it's not a, I always talk about it evenly. It doesn't mean that guarantees successes. I just believe it gives you a better chance of being successful. It's still down to the players to deliver, and we're back on the right track. Long way to go, but we're certainly back on the right idea of what we think will get us performances and in turn get us wins.
Only a few days left now before the transfer window shuts. Do you feel as if you're any closer to maybe bringing someone in before Monday night?
Not at the moment. Loads of stories around, loads of mistruths, as there always is at this time of the year. But no, I think the new ownership are still, they're still getting to grips with what the club's about. We're still in the market of trying and looking at certain things. But I don't think it's going to be radical, and I don't think it's going to be large amounts of money. I think there's going to be a cooling off period where there's a balance to what the new ownership are trying to learn about the club and the way it works. It's very difficult at the moment, because of the COVID situation and getting a real grip of the feel of the people of the club. Not just the football side, you understand, in the offices and the way the club runs. We'll wait and see. There's maybes, but we're always in the market on a maybe, and then we'll see if we can get something across the line.
As you said before, January is always difficult anyway, because clubs don't want to give up their best players halfway through a season. But given everything else that is going on around at the moment, and the situation with the world as it is it even more difficult? Is this the most difficult you've ever known as far as the January is concerned?
Difficult in our experience is usually around finance. So regardless of COVID, it's been difficult virtually ever since I've been here in that respect. I think it's just the shifts in the market. No one quite knows still how COVID's going to affect it. We've got some guidelines about forgetting about the health and well-being. We know that's a given. We know that's the most important thing. But as a business, then how that's going to knock on, how long it's going to knock on for. I mean, fortunately here, in the sense of the grand scheme and the finance of the club, the crowd, although very important to us, they don't bring a massive amount of revenue compared to what the media side does. So that gives us a slightly stronger kind of view of going forwards. But it's still important, and the money that comes in from the fans, the money that comes in from the commercial side of the club is still important, as it is to all. So therefore, I don't think we're really there yet where clubs know where the market's going to go. We're just going to have to wait and see and be flexible-minded within it.
Chelsea up this time round, and obviously a new manager in Thomas Tuchel. Does that mean it's a little bit of a step into the unknown for you to some degree?
Yes, slightly. We've just got the one game to go on. In here, obviously, in the Premier League. Obviously, he's well thought of for many different reasons around the clubs he's been at and the work he's done. The one game, it looked like they were passing even more than they were passing. It was certainly an incredibly high stat of keeping the ball. They didn't score within that, but they certainly knocked on the door against what I think is still a decent Wolves outfit, even with their injuries and a couple of players sold. They're still a good outfit. So we'll wait and see. But I'd like to think with our experiences of the Premier League, you can only use the knowledge you've got going into the next one. And I think we've experienced a lot down the years in the Premier League, and even this season, the different challenges. So, we will let the players know what we know, but we will also be focusing on ourselves. And I think we always remind the players of that, what we can do, how effective we can be in performances to take care of what we can take care of. And that's a good start point for us.
Thank you very much, Sean. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fraser. Sue, hi, good afternoon, Sue for Premier League.
2 seconds, Sue.
Sorry.
This stroke has to be well taken care of, I'm telling you.
Are you okay now, Sean? Are you happy to go on?
Yes.
Okay. A quick word, if I may, about Chelsea. Are you surprised that they, after such a good start to the season that they made, that they've really lost their way since the second week of December?
Well, it just goes to show you it's not an easy task, managing a side, building a side, kind of rejigging a side because they spent a bit of money, which is well documented on some players, and making that form into a new side and a side that can work over a season. I've spoken many times here about consistency, and that consistency, not just the consistency you need throughout 95 minutes, but also consistency, game to game and for long periods. And I think if you lose that, even the top level sides, if they lose that little bit of consistency, then good results can go against you. And I think the demands are higher. The sort of top six clubs, or the recognised top six, I must say, there's other clubs creeping in around that now. particularly the main ones or the obvious ones that everyone speaks about, Leicester, with what they're doing there, the finance they've put in there, and a very good manager and team. Same at Everton, so they're beginning to get up there. So I mean that's how I see it at the moment.
In terms of Burnley, what's given you the most satisfaction? Because your two sides have kind of gone in opposite directions since around that time, haven't they? 6 wins in the last 12, I think it is for you, in the Premier League. What's given you the most satisfaction about that turnaround?
Just a reminder to myself sometimes, the players that you work with, the quality of them, the level there of the industry they're prepared to put into performances, the physicality that they demand of themselves. The stats are very high once again for us, our physical stats, the running stats. So, I think the most pleasing thing is when a group of people take on the challenge, and we've never been scared of a challenge. We've had a few knocks along our way. We've had some, really tough situations to take and runs. So when you come through that, and you come out of that, then you look at your players and it reminds you, it just constantly reminds you of how good they are as people and players. And I think I've a lot of trust in these players and how they go about their business. So that's never lacked. And it just reinforces it when you get good results. I mean, and there's a humble edge to the group as well. They realise, we've had a good run of form, good run of results, but it's not a given. We've still got to keep doing that week in, week out. And that's the nature of what it is in the Premier League. I can assure you can never take for granted the Premier League. That's one thing I've definitely learned.
Did you doubt, Sean, in the tough start to the season that you had, that all those qualities you've just spoken about were still there?
No, I didn't really doubt it. I just mentioned that, there was a reality to it. We'd had an unbelievable injury list for a long time, even from the lockdown coming out of the lockdown, of last season, then into this season. That was a big surprise to us. We did feel that if we get through that period and get people fit, once again, it didn't guarantee us a result, but I think we'd get stronger and it'd enhance our chance of getting results. The resilience of the group and the mentality of the group, I never really questioned that. And now they're working, or continue to work actually, very hard, and we are getting them players fit again. So we're looking at a more rounded group. And like I say, there's a constant kind of message within the group and ourselves, from myself, that the last one doesn't take care of the next one. You've got to be right for every performance, and I think that's been a key mentality or a key mental view of what comes next in our lives as a football club and footballers. And that's the next game is the most important one. I've stood by it for years, and it's served us well.
And just the last one from me, Sean, looking at the fixtures in February, which are thick and fast, do you see that when you're playing teams in and around you as a real chance to make decisive progress away from anything that might be a problem in the bottom three?
No, I don't think so, because, coming out of an injury period, you don't really want that many games, and we've had lots of them. The good side of it is it has coincided with people getting fit, so at least we've had a vastly improved look to our squad. But no, I mean, look, however the games come, we've always accepted the challenge. Everyone's working hard, I'm sure, to try and bring fairness to the game schedule. We've had moments when it's gone against us, other teams have as well. So we don't kind of overthink it. We certainly don't make excuses for it. But it has been a tough spell of games, and it has been helpful to us that we've had more bodies available.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Here's Dan the man, looking dishevelled and an elephant man-like, as always.
I was just saying, looking like normal is what you're saying.
You said that. I was just merely remarking, speaking out loud. I thought them words were staying inside, and unfortunately, whenever I see your face, the words come outside, and that's just the way it is, Dan.
I just have this effect on you, clearly.
Sharing's caring, kid.
Not sure you ever look normal, Dan.
Well, what is normal these days?
Oh, it's a fair point. Well made from Dan. Well done, Dan Jewell. Actually sounded like he knew what he was talking about for once in his life. Good lad.
Don't worry, I'll ask you a question now, and that.
Let's actually do some business.
Just in terms of the kind of comparisons made between yourselves and Chelsea, and indeed yourselves and any opponents, is everybody a little bit less consistent in the Premier League this season? It seems like we're seeing loads of, quotes, shock results to the extent that they're not becoming a surprise anymore. Do you think that's to do with COVID, to do with lockdowns and stuff?
Well, the hardest thing to analyse really is the effect of, well, probably the simplest one that most people have been speaking about is empty stadiums, the effect of that, because, like say, you're going into the psyche of players as teams and individuals, you're going into what fans mean, you're going into Some stadiums are really raucous in a positive way, some are negative. Does that affect the players? Quite obviously it does generally, but we can't decide, or we can't define that that's just because of empty stadiums, because some players on the other hand find it strangely kind of a strange kind of relief to play in front of an empty stadium, because that immediate pressure from fans, because it is a pressure of sorts, it's a thrill as well, and it's finding that balance, the pressure of it to do well, but the thrill of doing well because you want to for the people. Some players actually suffer with that, and others thrive on it. So I think it's so hard to define what's actually affected, the games. And if you remember early season, there was loads of goals going in. That sort of went through a stage, and then it tightened up a bit. So I think it is difficult to define, which are the true measures of why this season seems a little bit different to the last few.
Do you think it makes it more important than ever to kind of seize on the opportunities when you get them, to turn 2 games unbeaten into 3, or 3 wins on the spin into 4, just the difference it can make, relatively speaking?
Well, it does in a sense, but you can't, it's not an easy task guaranteeing that. So I don't think, there's certain managers who you would imagine think they're going to win games and win probably lots of them and have runs of back-to-back. I'm certainly not one who guarantees that. I believe we can. There's no reason to believe you can't win games back-to-back, of course. But what I'm suggesting is that, it's a very difficult thing in the Premier League to win 2 games back-to-back, let alone 3, 4 and 5. So, we've had spells of it, but it is very difficult. So there's a reality to the challenge. But equally, there's a strong-mindedness and a bloody mindedness to take on every game, because you are capable when you're playing well and you're effective to win games. And we've shown that. So we will certainly be going out to Chelsea in a good frame of mind to go and take the game on. But like I say, to try and enhance our chances of getting something, because it's not easy.
The scorelines, the end results of the games recently have shown that you've been scoring goals, which is something that we talked about a bit in previous weeks. Do you feel like there's been more creativity in general in those games, though? Do you feel like you've made more happen and made more chances, as well as obviously being more clinical right in the final third?
Well, I think we've asked more questions when we could. Very difficult at Liverpool because they're on the front foot a lot, the way they play. But we still affected them with a couple of quality moments and got a penalty, of course. But that's difficult. West Ham, we kind of did. They defended well. We had them on the back foot in the sense of possession, but weren't as effective as we could have been. I thought we were effective the other night against Aston Villa. So were they, to be fair, and Pope played very well, and our back four played very well defensively, generally, and especially second half. But we asked more questions of them. So, I've said for a long time now, in my experience of us in general, it's rare that we have 20 odd chances like some teams do, although I'm always interested in that stat because, as I always suggest, that some of them are shots from like 400 feet away, and you think, yeah, okay, I'm not quite sure that was a chance. I'm more interested in having quality chances. And I think we're beginning to ask more questions to create them quality moments. I think that's a good sign. There still needs more to come, over a season. But I think we're getting more effective in the way that we're playing in the top third, and I think that's been something that is been coming back to us. We've certainly adjusted the back third position with the way the team's operating defensively as a whole, and then adding that detail in the top third. There's signs of it. I don't think we're ever exactly there, but there's signs that we're getting stronger in that.
And I suppose it's no coincidence that you've started to have selection choices. You can bring players off the bench, you can bring Jack Cork on, you can change your wide players. I suppose that was to be expected, wasn't it, when you started getting players back?
Well, you wouldn't have thought so from the early season news outside of what we do. There was plenty of people saying they should be signing 5 players, and I did try and say, look, we of course do want to look in the market, but the players still have to be right for what we try and achieve. And I did say that when they're all fit, we are a strong outfit. So we're strong in the sense of effective outfit, not strong, not a grandiose statement. We're strong and effective, and we can compete on a weekly basis in the Premier League. And I think it's the truth of the moment. I did believe that. And I did say equally, we're probably 1, maybe 2 short. You can carry that. If you're 4 and 5 short, which was happening to us early season, not by not signing players, but by injury, then it becomes a bigger challenge. Because as you said, if players are a bit off or they're a bit quiet, how do you affect it? From the bench, we're putting on very young players, fantastic for them, by the way, and they've developed a real jump forward in some of our young players. But you're asking a lot of them to go into a Premier League game and affect it. when they're learning as they go. And I think that's a tough ask on them, very good ask on them, and very great a great experience for them at times. But it is a tough ask for them. When you start getting these players back fit, who are regulars or certainly, semi-regular in the Premier League, in the sense that most have played in the Premier League for a number of seasons, then there's a different feel to it. You're affecting the team in a more positive way because of the experience levels, not just the quality, but the experience levels as well.
I'm not daft enough, having done this for a long time, to ask you specifics about a transfer window or about transfers or signings or whatever, but just this window in general, I know you love the speculation. Where are we on the speculation-ometer in this window? Has there been more or less, or about the same as normal, of random names being thrown at you and you raising an eyebrow?
Probably slightly less, because I think everyone's thinking this is going to be a quiet market anyway with what's going on in the world and even in football. So I think they're probably less. Still the random names, which some, I never want to be disrespectful to players, but some do make me raise an eyebrow because I'm like, really? And some I know their contracts, I'm like, really? I'm like, I don't think so, wrong club. There's that, but I don't mind. I've been doing this long enough. There's speculation, of course, there is. You have to ask the questions. So I really don't mind, but I'd just tell you an honest answer. If we're not in for anyone, then we're not in for anyone. Simple as that.
And how often, what percentage of the time, is there any truth in one? Is it a player that you actually go, oh yeah, I quite like him, I've had a look at him?
I don't know how you put a percentage on it. It'd be very low. But like I say, I understand why. News is news. People, what is it? Never let the truth get in the way of a good story. So, I get it. It's not a problem. It's just part of the landscape of football. And I think we all get it. All managers get it. And the other thing for me, as you know, well, you definitely know, I don't really like speaking about other players at other clubs. I don't think, in my opinion, I'm not judging anyone else at all. In my opinion, I prefer to just keep information private to us. And if it comes to reality, that's fine, and I'll talk about it. If it's not, then we'll stay stum and let everyone else talk about it.
Lovely, thank you.
Thanks, Beardy.
Thanks, Dan. Ian Parker at Press Association.
Hi, Sean. Just a quick one, really. We saw a comment yesterday from Simon Jordan, sort of the Ron Seal remark, and you get what it says on the tin. There's something we've heard before about yourself and your management. Does it bother you at all? How do you react to comments like that?
I didn't know about the comment, for starters, but I understand. I understand the thought of you get exactly what it does on the tin or says on the tin. Well, I'm not really bothered. I think over the years, the thing that you become more rounded with as a manager over the years is there's going to be all kinds of opinions, good, bad, and indifferent. I just accept everyone's opinion. Everyone's got a right to have an opinion. So I'm not really that fussed. I get on with what's in house here. I get on with the challenge that's right in front of us. I'm employed to work for Burnley Football Club. I do. I work very hard, as do all my staff and my players. I just really focus on that, to be honest. You learn very quickly the noise outside is there's nothing you can do about it for one anyway, so I tend to not bother with it. And I think I've got a handle on what I do in-house and what we try and achieve here, so it doesn't really affect me at all. Good or bad news, that's my point. It doesn't really alter my feelings of what we're doing here, that's for sure.
So, is it a compliment in some ways?
Well, like I said, it might well be. I've had compliments. I've had some that are definitely not compliments. You've had question marks. You've had all sorts. And that's the nature of, what football's about, really. It is a game of often opinions, from varying sources, whether it's media streams, whether it's pundits, whether it's fans, of course. And nowadays, the vast change from when I started nearly 10 years ago at Watford, the vast change in social media. Huge change in social media and the number of people who will all throw opinions at you. So I think you just roll with it, really, or I certainly do. It doesn't really, I don't overthink any of it. I don't read much of it, only when Daz, who looks after my media side, sort of prompts me if it's something that's a bit, near the knuckle or needs answering to. But I certainly don't sit there trawling through my own media, trust me. I answer your questions as I do with everyone else, and then I get on with my work, the stuff that I deem is important, and that's in-house working with the players.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. And lastly for this section, Liam Wood, Lancashire Live, anything from you, Liam?
Hello, can you hear me now, Sean?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up a point earlier made. Obviously, 3 great results on the trot and 3 performances to match. How is the sort of mood in the camp ahead of Chelsea, which will be a challenge and perhaps a little bit of an unknown one?
Well, I think with 2.5 performances. I think the other night against Villa, I thought we were a bit off. I thought they were definitely on. They were excellent first half. So I think the second half we were stronger. So 2.5 out of the 3 I'd agree with. Generally, I think, we're beginning to regroup, and I think that's been working for a few weeks now in a number of games. Obviously, the points return has been very good since we hit game 8 to where we are now. We're reality bound. It's not easy to go to Chelsea anyway. Not easy. They've had a new manager, so players usually affect their own performance slightly more when a new manager comes in. Never an easy place to go to, but on the other hand, we are in good shape. There's a lot of belief in what we do. We're looking more effective in our performances, and we're going to need all of that. You can't go to these clubs without giving everything you can give to win a game, so we'll have to do that.
Absolutely. And just a final one from me. Obviously, you take one game at a time at a manager, but the 3 players you mentioned that are doubts for this weekend, do you anticipate them being available next week at all with 2 more games to come?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we are going to have to be careful with them. We know that because of what's happened in the past, and not just to them, but to the injury list that we've had. So we will make a call on this weekend and going forward into next midweek.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.